Hello everyone, please press subscribe, press follow, press the bell so you don't miss any new clips. The Divine Nine Dragon Cauldron. Author by Heavenly Overlord. Translator by NYOIBO Studio. Audio novels by Novelist. The Divine Nine Dragon Cauldron. Chapter 196, An Equal Match. Xuanhuan struck suddenly and ferociously. Ji Hongshu was further away, making it hard for him to stop Xuanhuan. At the side, Xuanhuan's lips formed a slight smile. Only Mo Wu, who came back to her senses from the shock, furiously shouted, "Xuanhuan, don't go too far." "So what if I go too far?" Xuanhuan struck fiercely, his gaze looking past Mo Wu, coldly looking onto Su Yu. "Kneel." Mo Wu laughed angrily, clenching her teeth. "Say that after you passed me." Her silver sword twirled in her hand. Mo Wu wanted to strike, but Su Yu placed his hand on her shoulder. "Our problems should be resolved by us. You rest on the side." Not knowing why the clear, calm words of Su Yu gave Mo Wu the impression that he was immensely confident. She subconsciously followed his instructions, stepping to the side. Without giving any time to react, Su Yu had already taken a step forward. 6 Fingers of Destruction. Xuanhuan's 6 Fingers of Destruction was at stage 2 upper tier and was nothing exceptional. But his cultivation level was at Dragon Realm 2nd level peak, completely dwarfing Su Yu. Combining the two, its explosive power and might was extraordinary. Rumble. The flames were intense, its spiritual pressure startling. Mo Wu's expression was grave. Between every tier of the Holy King, the difference in their spirit energy was only 30%. But for Dragon Realm, it was 50%. "Su Yu, run quick." Mo Wu could only shout. But Xuanhuan was full of killing intent. How would he give Su Yu the chance to run? "Kneel." Insignificant thing. The humiliation of his castration turned into a ball of fury, burning in his chest. Su Yu's expression was calm, his lips forming a slight smile. "All right, I'll send you out of here. I'll feel more comfortable not seeing you around." Rumble. A sound of waves crashing came from Su Yu's energy center. It was his liquid spirit energy raging, flowing to the fire cloud seal between his brows. The fire cloud seal pulsated, a shred of exquisite chill spreading forth. It was as if the gates of an icy hell had opened. Countless ice burst from the gates, sealing the entire world. Rumble. The fiery red ice flames blanketed the area. It collided with the 6 Fingers of Destruction. The loud sound of the impact reverberated around the surroundings. Wild winds ensued, causing flowers to fly and the waters of the Jade Lake to churn. Li Jun and the others retreated in terror to defend against the spillover effects. Junior Su had clearly just broken through into the Dragon Realm. How could his spirit energy reserves be so terrifying? Li Jun was in awe and shock. Compared to the spirit energy Su Yu showed him just now, this was Su Yu's full power. It was double the spirit power of anyone in the same cultivation level, not losing to a Dragon Realm level 2 upper tier. Thud thud thud. In the fog of dust and debris, 2 figures each retreated 4 steps. Xuanhuan's cold expression had frozen, his face rigid. Shock filled his heart, to the point where he did not realize the bone-piercing cold on his right fist, devouring his life force. "You broke through to Dragon Realm level 1 upper tier." Xuanhuan could not believe it. A month ago, Su Yu in the Meteorite Forest was only a 7th level lower tier Holy King. Xuanhuan could kill him with a finger then. But in a month's time, Su Yu could hold his own. Mo Wu's eyes widened, gasping. "You, how can that be?" It was as if she was dreaming. In her eyes, the junior that was in constant need of protection had surpassed her in terms of ability. Xuanhuan was anxious. The potential Su Yu showed was too scary. He could not give him any more room to grow. "Senior Xuanhuan, please help me." Xuanhuan clenched his teeth, swearing to destroy Su Yu's future. Xuanhuan sucked in his cheeks, showing a sinister expression as he laughed. Interesting, in just a month, he had improved from 7th level lower tier Holy King to Dragon Realm level 1 upper tier. The speed of his improvement is shocking.
Senior Shen,
This person is dangerous, let's strike together. Gao Xuan was anxious. Shen Zhouan calmly glanced at him. Do I need to team up with you to deal with Emir Su Yu? Look from the side. Useless trash. Hearing the chides, Gao Xuan's face was hot, his heart full of grievance. But Shen Zhouan was the disciple of the great elder. Gao Xuan ultimately had to bow down to Shen Zhouan. Coupled with the fact that his abilities could not match Shen Zhouan's, it made it even harder for him to raise his head. Now that he has been chided in front of everyone, the grievances that he had suppressed in his heart turned into a shred of hatred. If I, Gao Xuan, grew stronger, I would definitely teach you a lesson. Shen Zhouan fixed his gaze on Su Yu, letting out a sinister laugh. Even though I am looking forward to having another worthy opponent, but I am not one who is overly pedantic. Your potential unsettles me, and so I wish to sever your fate with the ancient Xianyun temple. Hand over the extra spiritual plants and I can consider giving you the chance to die by your own hand, Shen Zhouan said. Su Yu sarcastically smiled. You really think that you would definitely win me? Su Yu. Mo Wu stepped forward to block Su Yu, her eyes filled with a deep fear. Don't clash with him, run quickly. He is more dangerous than you imagine. He has a rumored strange spirit, allowing him to transform. He is immensely scary after his transformation. Mo Wu gravely said, even the 10th Elder took more than 10 moves to defeat him. Su Yu lifted his eyebrows. A strange spirit that allowed the user to transform. His abilities were on par with the 10th Elder, who was Dragon Realm level 4. But Shen Zhouan after transformation would lose his reason and was thus banned from using it during spars. That's why his ranking is below Ji Hongshu's. Mo Wu told him something that was not known by the masses. The true top disciple of the faction might not be Ji Hongshu. So, take this opportunity, I'll block him, you run quickly. Mo Wu's expression was unprecedentedly grave. The true most powerful disciple in the faction was Shen Zhouan. Taking a breath, Su Yu's expression was grave, then he coldly shook his head. No, I cannot escape now. Other than the divine dragon plant, he had something important that he had not done yet. That is to find the phoenix blood elixir. Escaping is also wishful thinking. Leave the spiritual plants behind and I'll give you a chance to kill yourself. That's the biggest mercy I can give you. Shen Zhouan let out a sinister laugh. Su Yu's expression gradually turned calm, his eyes were serene as an autumn lake. Why would I, Su Yu, fear a battle? Shen Zhouan laughed, turning even more sinister. You have guts, but you are also ignorant. Seeing the battle between them about to explode. Whoosh! A majestic figure stood in the center of the two, his fierce gaze striking the hearts of many. Is now the time to be having an internal strife. The horrifying spirit energy blanketed the surroundings. Su Yu's pupils dilated. Dragon Realm Level 3. Shen Zhouan's expression turned rigid, gravely saying, You. Broken through. After half a month of collecting black dragon plants, Ji Hongshu had broken free of the shackles of his cultivation level, silently slipping into Dragon Realm Level 3 just now. His powerful aura caused the breathing of many to become harder. Su Yu had the impression that if Ji Hongshu wanted to, he could stop him with a finger. Coldly staring at the two of them, Ji Hongshu's gaze landed onto Su Yu, a battle intent lingering in his eyes. Your improvement is rapid. I hope that you can be my rival in the future. Now, there's no opponent that can match up to me. In the past, Su Yu could still pique the interest of Ji Hongshu. But now that he had reached a horrifying Dragon Realm Level 3, Su Yu could no longer pose any threat to him. Can you give me one of your white dragon plants? We can trade. Ji Hongshu spoke. He had reached Dragon Realm Level 3, the black dragon plant's effects are now negligible. Only the white dragon plant was worth trying. Su Yu's gaze wavered, readily accepting the offer. Of course. But you need to promise me something. Help me get the divine dragon plant. Specifically, help me suppress the heaven howling fish for a moment. Suppress the heaven howling fish. Ji Hongshu raised his brows, slightly shaking his head. Even if I have broken through to Dragon Realm level 3, there's no guarantee that I could suppress him for half a minute. But if Junior Shun would help, that would not be outside the realm of possibility. His transformation ability should not be made light of. Ji Hongshu paused for a moment before saying. Shen Zhuan heard this, his eyes blazed with passion, laughing lightly. If you give me a white dragon plant, I naturally would lend a hand. Su Yu creased his brows but quickly nodded calmly. If you did your best, I would naturally accept the offer. We'll rest for a day and take action tomorrow. After it is done, I'll give you guys the white dragon plant. Su Yu calmly said. Mo Wu bit her lips. She was holding 10 black dragon plants and a white dragon plant. A ripple formed in her heart. This favor to Mo Wu, who needed a breakthrough in her abilities urgently, was immense. Mo Wu clenched her teeth, saying, Do you have any wish that you have not fulfilled? I would use my life to try to make it up to you. My wish. Su Yu laughed, gently shaking his head. I'll fulfill my own wishes. These spiritual plants are repayment for the multiple times you protected me over the past half a year. You do not need to obsess over it. I do not want to owe you any favors. I'll definitely return it to you in the future. Mo Wu stubbornly said, her face turning red. As proud as she was, she did not allow herself to owe Su Yu any favors. The crowd rested, only 2 figures stealthily stepped back. Senior Chan, Su Yu whispered. Her figure shivered as she froze on the spot. Chan Yunfei turned back rigidly, biting her lips. She was fearful and bitter, her gaze welling with a cold intent. Junior Su, what's the matter? Chan Leiyun was full of fear, not daring to breathe. He was bowing, not daring to look directly at Su Yu's eyes. In just half a month, Su Yu's abilities had improved explosively, allowing him to even compete with the 4 great disciples. This caused the siblings to worry if Su Yu would exact revenge. After all, they knew that they had not cooperated with him in the lake. Senior, why are you in a hurry to leave? Su Yu walked forward with large strides. Was he really finding trouble? Chan Yunfei's heart was filled with bitterness. She was grateful for Su Yu's help on 2 occasions, thus she forgave Su Yu for smearing her purity. But who would have thought that Su Yu was such a hypocrite? Not only had he made such an unreasonable request just now, he was still coming to exact revenge after his abilities improved. The bitterness in her heart caused tears to well in her eyes. But the pride in her heart made her stick out her chest. With tears in her eyes, she glared at Su Yu. What do you need? Say it now. Chan Yunfei's tearing eyes caused Su Yu to freeze. Senior, I only wanted to fulfill my promise and share these spiritual plants with you all. Am I doing anything wrong? Whoosh. Su Yu took out a white dragon plant and 5 black dragon plants, stuffing them into Chan Yunfei's hands. Rumble. Chan Yunfei and Chan Leiyun were as if struck by 5 flashes of lightning, freezing on the spot. Wasn't Su Yu taking advantage of the favors he had done? Was he not a hypocrite? The Divine 9 Dragon Cauldron. Chapter 197, Working Together to Deal with an Enemy. If not for the both of you baiting the heaven howling fish, I would be unable to succeed as well. Hence, both of you deserve these spiritual plants. Su Yu did not really understand their reaction. Finally, after a long time, Chan Yunfei and her brother came to their senses. Both of them felt diffident. Even at the very moment, how could they not understand that they had misunderstood Su Yu? Su Yu sincerely wanted to work with them. He did not try to use kindness to enhance his influence and send them to die. Chan Yunfei felt remorseful and she could not bear her remorse. Tears overflowed down her jade-like face and her whole face was red due to her feeling ashamed. Junior, Chan Yunfei grabbed her elegant fist and felt unworthy of standing in front of Su Yu. In the end, she gauged the heart of a gentleman with her own mean measure. Su Yu saw that Chan Yunfei was muttering and mumbling. He then became even more confused. Senior sister, did I offend you in any way? Chan Yunfei bit her lip slightly and she was too ashamed to face Su Yu's crystal clear eyes and she wished that she could find a crevice and go into it. Moreover, she was more ashamed to voice the filthy thoughts in her mind. After mumbling for a long time, she walked in front Su Yu and her red lips kissed his cheek. Su Yu was taken by surprise. Junior, sorry. Chan Yunfei paid a courtesy call shamefully and her face flushed. After her speech, she brought Chan Leyun along with her, left nimbly while Su Yu was still dumbstruck to find a safe place where she and her brother could absorb the spiritual plant and prepare to continue making breakthroughs in their cultivation bases. Mo Wu, who was at one side, was stunned for some time and her chest felt uneasy for no reason. She could not help but laugh coldly. Junior, you have a lot of good fortune in love affairs. You managed to get a beautiful woman to throw herself in your arms by just giving her a few spiritual plants. Do you want me to repay you as well? Su Yu was stunned and he looked at Mo Wu strangely. The Mo Wu in his memories was someone who was extremely cold and arrogant. At the very moment, she was half joking and half cold. That was the first time that Su Yu had discovered that about her. Mo Wu realized that her words were extremely impractical. Her face turned red at once and her charming body became stiff. Su Yu was feeling guilty. Hence, he did not really try to understand Mo Wu's expression and he burst into laughter awkwardly. After some time, the place became quiet. Su Yu and Mo Wu sat shoulder to shoulder. They then took out one white dragon plant and several black dragon plants in anticipation. 3 black dragon plants could raise his cultivation base by 1 tier. 1 white dragon plant can raise his cultivation base by 1 tier. If he swallowed all 4 spiritual plants, wouldn't he be able to make a breakthrough to Dragon Realm level 2 straight away? If you plan to swallow the divine dragon plant, then I suggest that you had better not swallow other kinds of spiritual plants. Mo Wu's face was still a bit red as if it was the glow of sunset on the horizon. She looked beautiful and charming but cold at the same time. Why? Su Yu did not understand. He was about to take a major step and make a breakthrough in his cultivation base. Mo Wu looked at him with blank eyes. No matter how good a spiritual plant is, it will always be a spiritual plant and it cannot be compared with elixir. If you swallow too many spiritual plants, its effects will become weaker to the point that it is completely useless. Because, by swallowing too many of it, your body will develop a resistance against it. If you swallow the white dragon plant and black dragon plant now, the effects of the divine dragon plant will be reduced greatly. Mo Wu reminded. She then became relieved at once. However, the probability of you obtaining the divine dragon plant is close to 0. Hence, it is also good for you to swallow the white dragon plant now. Is that so? Su Yu stroked his chin and thought to himself for some time. He then kept his spiritual plants disappointedly. Mo Wu's eyes were filled with anticipation and she started to absorb the effects of the white dragon plant. Swallow. The effects of the white dragon plant were 3 times more than that of a black dragon plant. After Mo Wu absorbed the effects of the white dragon plant, her cultivation base rose hastily and immediately with a speed that a naked eye could perceive. After half a cup of tea's time, under the last thread of effects, she successfully made a breakthrough to Dragon Realm level 2 upper tier. Mo Wu nodded quietly. The effects of the spiritual plants had indeed gotten weaker. Mo Wu had been training in the ancient Xianyan temple for 1 month. Hence, she was not too far from making a breakthrough to Dragon Realm level 2 upper tier. With the effects of the white dragon plant, her cultivation base could make a breakthrough easily. In actual fact, she only barely succeeded. She had swallowed black dragon plant before and the effects of the white dragon plant decreased as a result. After that, Mo Wu swallowed 10 black dragon plants continuously. However, its effects were so weak that it caused other people's hair to bristle with anger. Its effect was equivalent to the effects of 3 white dragon plants. However, that had only caused her to make a breakthrough to the next tier, achieving Dragon Realm level 2 peak. To Mo Wu, the effects of the white dragon plant were equivalent to the very first black dragon plant that she swallowed. However, Mo Wu herself was as extremely delighted as she was mad. Although her jade-like face, which was icy cold like an ice mountain, tried to remain calm, she could not hide the fact that she was wild with joy as her charming body was trembling. In just a mere 1 month, she had achieved Dragon Realm Level 2 peak, and Dragon Realm Level 3 was just around the corner. Gao Xuan's expression turned extremely gloomy. With the help of Su Yu, Mo Wu's cultivation base advanced greatly to the point that she was 1 tier above Gao Xuan. It was even to the extent that Mo Wu's cultivation base had surpassed Xuanhuan as well. Seeing that people were surpassing him one by one, Gao Xuan was burning with impatience. This cannot carry on. 1 day passed before Su Yu stood up and his eyes were glowing with anticipation. Now, let's get started. Ji Hongshu and Xuanhuan followed Su Yu to the shore of the lake. Although Mo Wu and Gao Xuan did not help, they were curious about what Su Yu was trying to do. At that moment, the heaven howling fish was still loitering around the lake in a frenzy, and it was roaring continuously. Restrain the heaven howling fish such that its mouth remains open for some time, Su Yu said as his eyes flashed. Ji Hongwei was a bit stunned. Could it be that you want to enter its body and pick the divine dragon plant? However, we are unable to restrain it for long. At the very least, we cannot restrain it for the time taken for you to enter its body, pick the spiritual plant and come out. Regarding that, you do not need to worry. Once I enter its body, I will have some ways of coming out. After hearing what was said, Ji Hongshu agreed naturally. Junior Shen, let's make our moves. If we want to restrain the heaven howling fish, we need to go all out. 8 shoulders trap. Ji Hongshu gave a light roar. Puff, puff, puff. A red, sticky and thick liquid flowed out from Ji Hongshu's snow-like body. Looking at it for the first time, that liquid looked like blood and it filled people with fear. However, when looked at it attentively, that was blood energy that had been condensed to its maximum. His blood energy was so strong to the extent that it liquefied. Exactly how strong was Ji Hongshu's body? Crash. The liquefied blood energy condensed into 8 arms that were 10 Chinese feet long each, and it solidified at Ji Hongshu's back. Every arm was emitted energy that would cause anyone to have the jitters. Xuanhuan had deep eyes and he was burning with fighting intentions. He then laughed with a hoarse voice. After 1 year, I finally see it again, 8 shoulders trap. A legacy-level cultivation technique at Stage 3 upper class. A step more and he would achieve the rumored Stage 3 top class. Among the faction, only 3 persons managed to hone their legacy-level cultivation techniques to Stage 3 top class. They were the Great Elder, Second Elder, and the Faction Master. As for Ji Hongshu, he had managed to hone his legacy-level cultivation technique to Stage 3 upper class, surpassing many accomplishments of numerous elders. Comparing talents, Ji Hongshu was right below that year's Heaven Ruler's goddess, the Second Elder. If this is the case, I will go all out as well. Xuanhuan uttered a long and loud cry. Soul transformation. Crack, crack. A terrifying sound of bones cracking could be heard from Xuanhuan's body. His skeleton was undergoing an astonishing change. At the same time, his body was expanding. While everyone was shocked, from a thin and weak young man, Xuanhuan became 3 times bigger. Unlike any human beings, he was 5 meters tall. He had explosive big and red muscles as well as a face that was ferocious and frightening. That was no longer a human being. Instead, it was a huge gorilla. Its ominous energy surged and became frightening. At the same time, it was also emitting a murderous aura implying that it wanted to destroy everything. Ji Hongshu revealed a threat of seriousness and also intentions to fight. You are the only one who can fight with me for the top. Let's make our moves now, before I lose my senses. Xuanhuan laughed coldly and hoarsely. He took a step forward. Rumble, puff. At once, the Jade Lake generated a giant wave that could hit the heaven. Under a leg attack, 100 Chinese feet high giant wave was generated. Ji Hongshu finally made his move. With an aura that could shake the heaven, the 8 arms headed for the heaven howling fish. Mo Wu gasped. Although her cultivation base was stronger than Xuanhuan, without the slightest doubt, if she came across the Xuanhuan who had transformed, she might be killed with one punch of his. Su Yu stared at Ji Hongshu and his eyes turned serious. As expected of the faction's #1 disciple. With this kind of blood energy, he totally has the abilities to fight someone with a greater cultivation base than him. The two of them teamed up and attacked the Heaven Howling Fish. Against an attack which was comparable to an attack from someone of Dragon Realm level 3 upper tier from the both of them, the Heaven Howling Fish's eyes were filled with disdain. It then opened its mouth and emitted sound waves. Rumble, puff. The combined attack of the both of them was dispersed by the sound waves. At the same time, Ji Hongshu and Xuanhuan's body shook violently and they became stagnant for a moment. Taking advantage of that opportunity, the Heaven Howling Fish revealed a joking face and its house-sized head which was like a lofty mountain headed for them. Crash! Crash! Ji Hongshu and Xuanhuan's expressions changed and they blocked the attack with all their might. However, against the great strength, both of them were sent flying out of the water onto the shore and they crashed several giant rocks into pieces. Puff! Xuanhuan spit out a mouthful of blood and its ferocious face revealed a shocked expression. Ji Hongshu also gave a groan and dazzling blood overflowed from the corners of his mouth. Just one attack had caused both the Dragon Realm level 3s who went all out to be fatally injured. Evil creature. Xuanhuan was angered. His eyes were blood red and he gradually lost his calmness. Roar. After giving a roar towards the sky, Xuanhuan beat his chest, gave an angry roar and threw himself towards the Heaven Howling Fish. Ji Hongshu also bit his teeth and threw himself towards the Heaven Howling Fish at the same time. This time round, both of them split up into two directions with the intention to launch a pincer attack so as to avoid the Heaven Howling Fish crashing into them. The Heaven Howling Fish smeared. It shook its head violently in a futile attempt to send them flying away. However, both of them were outstanding persons and their potentials were astonishing. In a critical moment, they unleashed all their power. Rumble. Bang. Both of them launched a pincer attack from the left and right. Ji Hongshu's 8 snow-like arms pressed against the left side of the Heaven Howling Fish's head while Xuanhuan's big body placed a huge pressure on the right side of its head, causing the giant head to be fixed in its position. Moreover, because of the enormous strength that was pressing against its head, the Heaven Howling Fish's mouth naturally opened by itself. Quick! Ji Hongshu quickly gave a roar. We cannot last for more than 2 breaths' time. 2 breaths' time is more than enough. A loud and clear voice could be heard from the sky. Su Yu, who was lying in wait after having finished his preparations, exhibited his ice phoenix's divine wings and headed towards the mouth of the Heaven Howling Fish. 1 breath passed and Su Yu was in front of the Heaven Howling Fish's mouth. However, when Su Yu was about to enter its mouth, the Heaven Howling Fish became furious and went crazy. It then flicked its gills violently. Rumble. Bang. Ji Hongshu spit out blood from his mouth. As though he was a rock, he was sent flying for about 300 meters and he crashed into a small mountain. The unprecedented impact caused his internal organs to be crushed into pieces and he vomited blood continuously. Xuanhuan was more miserable. His whole body's flesh was burst open from the great impact. His body was full of cuts as if his body was about to break into pieces. As for Xuanhuan, he fainted from the impact. Su Yu's expression changed slightly. Seeing that the Heaven Howling Fish was about to close its mouth, he clenched his jaw and rushed into the mouth before it closed. The Divine 9 Dragon Cauldron. Chapter 198, The White Tiger Descends. Crack. Just as Su Yu entered, the sound of teeth clenching came from his back, sending a blade of wind grazing Su Yu. Creak. Blood sprayed out of a bloody gash a thumb deep. If the injury was a little deeper, he would have injured the major artery near his heart. Su Yu gasped. The fiery pain caused him to pierce his lips. He stopped in a hurry, circulating his spirit energy to stop the flow of blood. Seeing his astonishing injury, Su Yu had a lingering fear. He nearly lost his life. But overcoming the threat of death, he had finally made it into the belly of the Heaven Howling Fish. His figure flickered. Su Yu followed the 100 zhang body of the heaven-howling fish, entering its tail area. There was a blood-red spiritual plant dancing in the flesh of its tail. Its shape was the same as the black dragon plant and the white dragon plant. The only difference was its color. Divine dragon plant. It could raise an entire cultivation level. Su Yu's eyes burned with passion. He had finally found it. Su Yu approached to grab it, but the divine dragon plant seemed to hide from him intentionally. Su Yu's gaze shifted, his expression grave. This is. Yun Yazi's calm voice came from around his chest. This kind of spiritual plant, even though not at the level of divine herbs, has been absorbing the essence of the heaven-howling fish for years. It is very pure. If you use your hands to grab it, it will lose about 30% of its effectiveness. Is that so? Su Yu retracted his hand, thinking for a while before he took out a broken jade shovel. This was the delicate jade-like shovel he found in the meteorite forest, especially used for harvesting divine herbs. I can finally use this. Su Yu was filled with anticipation, sitting cross-legged as he used the artifact control technique to control this broken divine artifact. It was the first time he was trying to control this foreign divine artifact. With Su Yu's abilities, it would probably take a day for him to have the shovel under his control. While he was trying to control the divine artifact, outside the fish, Ji Hongshu was pale. The injury on his stomach was slightly subsiding. His heavy injuries were recovering well. But Shen Zhuan suffered grave injuries, still in a coma. He was being tended to by Xuanhuan. The abilities of the heaven-howling fish was greater than expected. It could be reaching Dragon Realm level 4 soon. This is a losing transaction for sure. Ji Hongshu laughed bitterly. At the side, Mo Wu's eyes were filled with worry. Why isn't he out yet? Could there be an accident? There's no need to worry, Junior Su entered with much confidence. He most likely is confident of his escape. On the other hand, we need to be careful. Ji Hongshu's expression turned serious, looking at the horizon. There was a small dot of black and white closing in on him. Creak. It was just at the horizon a moment ago, but in the blink of an eye, it had arrived above their heads. Looking up, it was the white tiger that was circling around for the past few days. The white tiger surveyed its surroundings, its cold eyes filled with frustration. He really made me look for him, to think he would be here. Based on the aura around, the white tiger had realized that Su Yu is near the area. Where's the silver-haired brat? The white tiger was floating in the air, high above them. Its eyes glanced over Mo Wu and the rest as if they were ants. The three of them trembled. That look as if cut 'em like a blade. The white tiger was calmly asking, but it felt like thunder booming in their ears. Their ears were buzzing, bleeding from the vibration. What a terrifying white tiger. Even Ji Hongshu felt that he was going to die. If the white tiger wanted to, the three of them would have been instantly turned to ash, without even a chance for them to get transported out. Mo Wu clenched her teeth, not wanting to disclose Su Yu's location. Ji Hongshu had signs of an internal struggle, trying hard to regain his composure from the fear. Only Xuanhuan, without thinking, his eyes full of fury and hatred. The person you are looking for is called Su Yu. He is in the belly of the heaven-howling fish in the Jade Lake, trying to obtain the divine dragon plant. In Xuanhuan's heart, he was laughing maniacally. Su Yu had dared to anger the most terrifying white tiger in the Sky Garden. Now Su Yu's life would permanently be left at this place. In the belly of such a puny fish. HMPH. The white tiger was impassive, grunting with disdain. But looking at the azure waves in the lake, its eyes showed signs of disgust. He circled the top of the Jade Lake but was not willing to enter. The white tiger was afraid of water, unwilling to enter it. Coupled with its radiating energy, the heaven-howling fish refused to swim up the lake. How long is he going to be there for? The thunder on the white tiger's body crackled, making it obvious that it was angry. It shouldn't be too long now. Xuanhuan said in a hurry. HMPH. Lad, let's see where you can run now. The white tiger grunted, landing on the side of the lake in wait. Once Su Yu came out, he would only be killed in a matter of seconds in front of the horrifying white tiger. Mo Wu shot a furious glare to the smiling Xuanhuan, her heart anxious. Su Yu in the water did not know what was happening outside once he came out. A day passed quickly. Su Yu in the belly of the heaven-howling fish was finally able to control the delicate jade-like shovel. Full of anticipation, Su Yu used the shovel to carefully dig out the blood-red divine dragon plant. On the jade shovel, a dull glow enveloped the divine dragon plant in protection, causing it to not sustain any damage. A whole stalk of pure divine dragon plant was presented in front of Su Yu. Keep it for now. Once the flames are activated, it is ready for consumption, Yunyazi said. Su Yu nodded, retrieving a clean jade bottle and putting the plant in it. Finally, Su Yu let out a sigh of relief. Calculating the time, Su Yu's eyes had a decisive glow. According to my estimates, more than half the time allowed in the ancient Xuanhuan temple has passed. The third-level eternal stairs was about to descend. Once a person stepped on it, it would be impossible to return from the eternal stairs. But Su Yu had to go. According to his calculations, the disciple that had the phoenix blood elixir most probably died on the eternal stairs. The first-level meteorite forest and the second-level sky garden would not cause any deaths. Only the third-level eternal stairs would trap someone for eternity once they entered. Qiana's phoenix of death would descend in about a month's time. Su Yu had no other choice. The second level trembled suddenly. A giant opening appeared on the azure blue sky. A spiraling set of steps descended from the opening, all the way to the ground. And it was aptly placed in the middle of the Jade Lake. At the side of the lake, Ji Hongshu and the rest had looks of caution. The master of the faction had warned them time and again to not enter the forbidden ground. The third level, the eternal stairs had descended. Those who entered had all perished. The white tiger turned its head, its eyes filled with fear for the first time. Its nostril flared. I wonder if that bloody bird is still at the third level. But at this moment, the white tiger's eyes turned serious, looking past the surface of the water to observe the depths of the lake. In the body of the heaven-howling fish, Su Yu exhaled. You've finally appeared, eternal stairs. Whoosh. Su Yu walked to the mouth of the heaven-howling fish, the fire cloud seal between his brows pulsating. Glazed ice flame. Creak. An immense chill erupted within the mouth of the heaven-howling fish. Even though the heaven-howling fish was near indestructible, but the insides of its body was still a weak point. With a howl, the heaven-howling fish opened its mouth subconsciously. Su Yu's gaze flashed, seizing the opportunity to charge out. But when Su Yu was charging out, the heaven-howling fish gave an evil and crafty look, timing the moment when Su Yu was charging out to clench down its sharp teeth. The heaven-howling fish had already realized that Su Yu was in its body. It had deliberately given Su Yu a chance so it could deliver a fatal bite. Reusing old tricks, Su Yu's expression was calm, letting out a cold laugh. Seal of time. With a low grunt, purple light erupted from Su Yu's left eye. At that moment, the giant head of the heaven-howling fish was trapped in the confines of time. Seizing the opportunity, Su Yu freed himself, spreading his ice phoenix's divine wings and charged straight towards the outside of the lake. Roar. The heaven-howling fish let out a huge roar, chasing in fury. But at this moment, Su Yu flicked his fingers. A divine ice thread hardly visible extended. Rumble. The divine ice thread was attached to the organs of the heaven-howling fish. Under the tugging, the innards were torn, severely injuring the fish. The furious heaven-howling fish let out a pathetic howl, its chasing figure got visibly slower. Seizing the opportunity, Su Yu charged 10 feet in front. But Su Yu had no time to be happy. His body suddenly turned rigid, his hair standing on its end. A chill ran down his spine as if a current had gripped his heart. For he suddenly felt a horrifying gaze glaring at him from far away. He used his crystalline pupils to see 5 miles ahead at the surface of the lake, clearly seeing the white tiger. Su Yu felt his scalp go numb. At this moment, the eyes of the white tiger had a human-like mocking smile, staring at him from far away. Lad, you made me wait an entire day, it's time for you to die. The white tiger was fuming. Su Yu's heart was heavy. When did he anger this white tiger? Could it be the 5-color honey? Su Yu's heart was thumping wildly, his face full of frustration. The eternal stairs was just before him, but he could not enter. The only consolation was that the white tiger was afraid of water and did not dare enter. Even though the black thunder was powerful, but dispersed in the water, the leftover energy was limited. Thus, if Su Yu continued hiding in the water, the white tiger wouldn't be able to do anything to him. As if it had predicted this to happen, the white tiger let out a cold grunt. I'll give you 3 seconds to come out. A second later and I'll start killing your friends. This ferocious tiger suddenly turned to look at Mo Wu and the rest. What? Kill us? Gao Xuan's face turned green. Elder, white tiger, I have a deep hatred for him, killing me would only. Did I ask you speak? The white tiger shot a cold stare. Spit. Gao Xuan turned pale, violently vomiting blood, his face full of shock. A gaze was enough to severely injure him. Just how powerful was this white tiger? The expressions of Ji Hongshu and Mo Wu changed drastically. The white tiger was taking him hostage. If Su Yu refused to come out, wouldn't they? Su Yu was frustrated. This cursed white tiger was too much. 1 second is over. The white tiger had a mocking look, fiercely looking at Mo Wu. I guess I'll start with you. You seem to be the most concerned about the silver-haired brat. Creak creak. The thunder on the white tiger's body seemed to be about to strike. Stop. A furious grunt came from within the lake. Ripple splash. Su Yu's expression was that of fury. He charged out of the lake, mercilessly saying, I'll stay. Let them go. The white tiger let out a mocking laugh. In my eyes, you are nothing, not fit to negotiate with me. Hand over the 5-color honey. Immediately. Now. Mo Wu and the rest swallowed hard. This tiger was an ungodly existence in the 2nd level. Their fates were all determined by the whims of the white tiger. But facing this domineering white tiger, Su Yu's fury gradually subsided, replaced by an icy expression. I have had enough of having my fate controlled by others. No one can control my fate, not even heaven. The white tiger shook its head. Ignorant thing. In front of absolute power, your heartfelt words are but a laughable struggle. Is it? Then I shall show you the surprise I've prepared for you. Su Yu let out a mocking smile. The Divine 9 Dragon Cauldron. Chapter 199, Eternal Stairs. Space-time manipulation. Su Yu gave a light roar. Buzz, buzz, buzz. His deep eye turned wine red as if it was the color of the clouds when the sun was setting. It was so beautiful it seemed like a fantasy sunset. The white tiger was taken by surprise and he was covered by the wine red color. The space trembled along with the sound. Invisible waves appeared from the void around its body and covered it. The white tiger's joking expression revealed a surprised look for the first. Space energy. You possess innate space talent. Roar. The white tiger realized that its situation was not good. It gave a roar and it wanted to struggle out of the wind-red color. However, it was too late. Titter. The space moved, causing the white tiger to be moved about 10 miles away. Moreover, it was moved to a place that it hated the most, Jade Lake. Mutter. When the space energy dispersed, the lake water flowed toward the white tiger and submerged it. A thread of anxiousness appeared in the white tiger's eyes. It moved its 4 limbs up and down the water and swam upwards clumsily. However, the lake water which flowed onto it caused its fur to be completely wet. A stroke of lightning was also spread across all directions in the lake. The fierce white tiger became a drenched dog in an instant. Little kid, I will kill you. The tiger, which flew into a rage from shame, climbed toward the shore while in a difficult position and also roared angrily at the same time. Thick murderous intent filled the white tiger's eyes. There was no one who was able to play tricks on him. Su Yu was the first person. Enjoy the surprise that I have prepared for you, drenched dog. Su Yu laughed indifferently. Without hesitation, he headed toward the spiral stairs. Before he left, he took out 2 white dragon plants. He threw one of it to Ji Hongshu and he threw the other one to Xuanhuan, who had just woken up. Su Yu, what are you trying to do? Upon seeing Su Yu's actions, Mo Wu's heart clicked. Could it be that Su Yu wants to enter the eternal stairs? Rumble, rumble. Suddenly, Mo Wu's mind rumbled. She suddenly understood what Su Yu wanted to do, look for the phoenix blood elixir. That disciple who had the phoenix blood elixir never returned, and he most likely perished in the eternal stairs. Su Yu stared at Mo Wu deeply and he bowed down. He recalled his memories with emotion and laughed indifferently. In Liaxian faction, I, Su Yu, was always alone. I only have seen your sister as my only friend. I am lucky to have met you. Having heard words that sounded as though Su Yu was bidding farewell, Mo Wu's heart felt extremely miserable. She had seen with her own eyes that Su Yu started from being a nobody and had taken tough and difficult steps before becoming who he was at the very moment. Everything he requested and did were all for Xianna and Li Guang. She had been moved by his dedication and defiance, by his refusal to listen to the flow of fate during the Fallen Star contest. The Su Yu back then had a thin and weak silhouette. His abilities were also very weak and his face was very unfamiliar. For the first time, someone had moved her soul. From that time onwards, that shadow was forever carved into her heart and it was unforgettable. Su Yu finally reached the final step. That time, Mo Wu's master had said with certainty that it was impossible for Su Yu to complete his task. However, Su Yu actually defied the natural order and crushed her words step by step. However, the final step might cut him off from the human world forever. Mo Wu suddenly felt afraid that she would be unable to see that indomitable shadow which went against the current. It was a feeling similar to the previous time at the abyss of Wutong where Su Yu perished in the poisonous mist. That sense of loss, that disappointment and that sorrow. Because Su Yu was the person that she had been chasing after. During the match at the icy azure lake that day, Su Yu became a shadow that many people chased after. That shadow was also carved in Mo Wu's heart. When Mo Wu was lonely, indecisive and helpless, that shadow provided a direction for her to move forward. That shadow also made her understand that in the world, there was one person who was just like her, moving forward while defying the natural order. Although that person was more miserable than her, he was more tenacious than her. That was the true feelings in her heart that she had never anyone before. No one would believe that the Mo Wu of the 4 great disciples treated the nameless and weak junior as someone that she would chase after at that time. Su Yu. Mo Wu's clear eyes were glowing sparklingly. Is it possible for you to stay? The farewell at the very moment might be forever. Perhaps she might be unable to see that shadow which worked hard quietly, persevered on quietly and moved forward quietly. The wind from the Jade Lake lifted up Su Yu's silver hair, and on heaven and earth, who will I be live for? A lonely sigh swept past a deep part of his heart. If she dies, on heaven and earth, who will I be live for? Mo Wu felt a sting that she never had before in her heart. A sting as she could not bear to see Su Yu leave, and also due to tender affection. Could it be that Su Yu had not thought of living for himself before? Living for someone else, for example, she, Mo Wu. Senior sister, I would like to make a final request. If I do not return, please carve my name, Su Yu, in front of Xianna's grave. Su Yu cupped his fists and made a courtesy call. He had an extremely lonely smile. If I cannot be with her when I am alive, then if I die, please allow my name to accompany her for all eternity. Su Yu. Mo Wu could not hold back the grievance in her heart. 2 columns of tears trickled down her extremely beautiful cheeks. Mo Wu gave a lonely cry which was filled with all her sadness that was within her heart. Please. Su Yu gave a courtesy call. After which, he turned his body and entered the eternal stairs. Mo Wu stared at Su Yu blankly as he disappeared into the stairs. In an instant, Mo Wu felt disheartened. It was as if she had lost something that caused her to suffocate. No, Su Yu, don't go. Mo Wu's voice was trembling and a sorrowful cry reverberated across the heaven. However, what answered her was stares that were empty. Roar. Crash. In the Jade Lake, the lake water was almost as if it could reach the sky. After being trapped for some time, the white tiger finally got itself out of its difficult situation. The white tiger was filled with astonishing murderous intent and its roar shook the heaven. Frightening thunderbolts came in all directions. Rumble. Bang. Any area that had been struck by the black thunderbolt turned into nothingness completely. Ji Hongshu and the remaining 3 of them were caught in one of the areas of the thunderbolt. The thunderbolt was approaching their heads. However, there was no place to run to. Not good. The white tiger had unleashed its powers. We are unable to stay here any longer. Common suicide and leave the ancient temple quickly. The expression of Ji Hongshu's snow-like face changed greatly. The thunderbolt was dangerous and it could kill them in an instant, resulting in them being unable to be transported out. By committing suicide, they could leave quickly. After his speech, before the thunderbolt killed them, Ji Hongshu thrust his palm onto his forehead. The ancient temple sensed that he was in danger. Immediately, the ancient temple activated a ray of space light and transported him out. Gao Xuan and Shen Zhouan then left in succession. Mo Wu whispered sobbingly, "Su Yu, you must come back." Rumble, rumble. There became more thunderbolts. In imminent peril, the 4 of them left successfully. Whiz, whiz. At the outside world, a white light glowed. The expressions of the faction master and elders changed. The 4 great disciples appeared together, causing their hearts to sink violently. What happened? There is still 1 more month. Why are all of you transported out? The Lixian faction master asked surprisingly and worriedly. How much of a loss was losing 1 month of training? Ji Hongshu's snow-like face was ashamed. Master, a white tiger had descended. To prevent anyone from dying, we exited of our own accord. The white tiger. For many years, that white tiger would not injure anyone of its own accord. Without any reason, why would it harm all of you? The Lixian faction master was filled with doubts. Gao Xuan clenched his fists tightly and said with hatred, "It was Su Yu. He angered the white tiger, causing us to be implicated." Even before they managed to enjoy the great benefits of the ancient temple, they were implicated by Su Yu. Han Ji flew into a rage. What a wretched person. He had ruined my disciple's future. I will definitely not forgive him. The great elder swept his eyes past Shen Zhouan. Shen Zhouan's cultivation base did not change and his expression turned serious. Zhouan, is that what happened? Although Shen Zhouan had gotten a white dragon plant, he was still implicated and it was impossible for him to not feel hatred for Su Yu. He replied furiously with hatred. About there. Ji Hongshu opened his mouth and he could not find any words to rebut him. Without a doubt, they were indeed implicated by Su Yu. At their current location, only the 2nd elder became stupefied on the spot. Her eyes looked at her beloved disciple, Mo Wu, and she could not believe what she was seeing. In her memories, her disciple was a reserved person. However, at the very moment, her shoulders were shaking and she was sobbing silently. Her expressionless eyes were overflowing with tears and she gazed into the distance sorrowfully. Mo Wu, what happened? Master, Su Yu, has entered the eternal stairs. Mo Wu was filled with sorrow. As she could not restrain her feelings anymore, she sobbed as though she was a young girl who had lost her best friend. She threw herself onto the 2nd elder's chest and cried loudly in front of everyone. What? Eternal stairs. The 2nd elder's frail body swayed. At that moment, the 2nd elder became absent-minded. Her feet retreated in a staggered manner and her pale eyes were flustered. Why? Why did he? The 2nd elder stopped talking halfway. She also understood Su Yu's objective. Phoenix blood elixir. Why didn't you stop him? The 2nd elder berated absent-mindedly. Mo Wu felt bitter, because, if Xianna dies, on heaven and earth, he had no one else that he could live his life for. Xianna, the 2nd elder repeated. Her eyes gradually became gloomy and a great sorrow emerged. On that day's afternoon, amidst the bright and beautiful sunlight, that silver-haired young man who smiled and inquired about the depository of Buddhist scriptures would never return again. That pair of clear eyes, that gaze which did not look down on her, and that compassionate eyes which made her heart feel warmth would never appear again. At that moment, the second elder also felt as if she had lost something, and her heart felt lonely. He entered the eternal stairs. The Liaxian faction master was stunned. After which, he immediately sighed lightly. It's a pity that we had lost a young plant. Anyone who entered the eternal stairs had no way of surviving. Many elders and disciples who had seen Su Yu bringing about miracles step by step and fighting into the top 10 felt sorry for Su Yu. The 10th elder heaved a sigh of relief. He then mocked coldly. He forfeited his life for the sake of a woman. Ha ha. He is similar to his master, so stupid to the point that it is incurable. Chi Ruolan was beside him. Her pretty face revealed a relaxed smile. Su Yu's death had caused her to feel at ease. However, it was quite evident that her relaxed expression was as if it was intentional. At the eternal stairs. At that moment when Su Yu stepped onto the eternal stairs, he entered a strange space. The world was snow-like that it was glaring. Su Yu was standing on an endless flight of white stairs. Stairs were both in front and behind him. That world was left with purely stairs. Su Yu tried to take a few steps, but the end did not change. It was as if when he took a few steps, the end would become further by a few steps, and it would forever be difficult to reach the end of the stairs. The Divine Nine Dragon Cauldron. Chapter 200, Undying Heart. Su Yu shifted his gaze, trying to circulate his spirit energy. But he shockingly realized that his spirit energy had vanished. His dantian was completely empty, without any traces of spirit energy. Yunyazi, what's happening? Su Yu's heart skipped a beat as asked. But there was no reply. Looking down, he realized that the jade box that was holding Yunyazi's soul was missing. A cold sweat broke out on his forehead. Even Yunyazi was missing. Looking closely, Su Yu realized that any item that required spirit energy, like the divine ice ring, all had mysteriously vanished. Currently, he was no different than a mere mortal. What kind of mysterious place was this, eternal stairs? Su Yu stood and thought for a long moment. He knew that, in order to find the answer, he had to walk forward. If he was able to reach the final step, it might get him out of this predicament. He walked for half a day. Su Yu was exhausted, but the end of the stairs was still nowhere to be seen. What made Su Yu even more paranoid was that it felt like he had not moved an inch. No matter how many steps he took, a few more steps appeared in front of him. No matter how far he walked, he couldn't reach the end. It was as if this was an eternal, never-ending place. There was no spiritual energy, no divine artifacts, no outside help. It was as if he had been abandoned at an eternal country, infinitely circling within the steps. What was even more pressing a matter, was that Su Yu felt acute hunger and thirst. Without a single sustaining item on his person, Su Yu was going to die on these steps. This place definitely lived up to its reputation of being the forbidden grounds of no return. Being robbed of their spirit energy, treasures, and anything they could depend on, anybody would die walking on this eternal journey. I cannot die. Qian'er is waiting for me. Su Yu pressed on, summoning all of his willpower. 2 days later, Su Yu was starving, his body weak. He had not had anything to drink for the past 2 days. He had reached his biological breaking point. But nothing had changed. It was still an eternal stairway, with no way of reaching the end. Crash. Su Yu collapsed on the floor, his mind turning fuzzy. This was a sure sign of death. No, I cannot die. Su Yu bit the tip of his tongue, stimulating his brain. No. If the third level exists, it must serve a purpose and not simply be a trap for someone until they die. Furthermore, in these 2 days, I have never once seen a corpse that perished here. Which part of this place have I missed that is out of the ordinary? Su Yu utilized his brain, rapidly thinking. A moment later, Su Yu had a spark of inspiration. I missed an important thing. A guiding post. Without a guiding post to see where I have passed, everywhere I walked was snow-white steps. There was no way to accurately deduce that, until now, where the judgment I made, that I was advancing, came from my senses. Hence, the senses can be affected. Su Yu's eyes grew brighter, his brain turning faster. At this point, he needed a guiding post to test his own hypothesis. Clenching his teeth, Su Yu bit down on his finger, fresh blood dripping onto the stairs. He wanted to use his blood to mark the ground, but the blood was absorbed by the stairs. Thinking, Su Yu tore off a piece of his robe, dropping it on the stairs. It also vanished. Thinking back to the disappearance of his spiritual energy and divine artifacts, Su Yu muttered, "Anything that belongs to me has been taken by the stairs. Anything I take would disappear instantly, unless that item did not belong to me." But these items still had all disappeared. Su Yu had reached a dead end. At this moment, Su Yu had a stroke of inspiration. There was an item that might not have disappeared yet. Grunt. Su Yu let out a low growl, using the power in his muscles to press on his abdominal region. Some time later, dull black droplets seeped from his pores. It was the black wind elixir. Su Yu had gotten this from the meteorite forest, an ancient pill that boosts one's masculinity. But it had lost its effects and had sealed it in his body using ice, waiting for an opportunity to expel it. It did not belong to Su Yu, but was hidden deep within his stomach. Thus, it had not been noticed by the eternal stairs. Now that it had been crushed by his muscles, it formed droplets and was expelled through his pores. A handful of black droplets fell on the stairs, and did not disappear. In this snow-white world, the black droplets stood out. Looking at the black droplets before his feet, Su Yu shifted his gaze, stepping onto the next step. Strangely, he had clearly taken another step, yet the black droplets remained before his feet, their position, shape, amount and distance from his leg remaining unchanged. It was not that the droplets followed Su Yu up another step, but rather that Su Yu had been walking on the spot all along. According to his senses, Su Yu was advancing. Using the black droplets as a guiding post, it told Su Yu that his 2-day journey had just been him walking on the spot. He had not moved an inch from his original position. What's this that's deceiving my senses? Su Yu finally knew where the problem lay. Just as Su Yu achieved understanding, a strange scene ensued. A black crack formed in the white world, as if a mirror had just broken. Crack. The white world turned into shards, flying in all directions. Su Yu subconsciously closed his eyes. When he reopened them, he found that he was standing before an ancient, broken Buddha statue. Atop the Buddha statue was a palm print, breaking it into 5 pieces. Another palm print. At the same time, Su Yu's peripheral vision fell on a fearful scene. Before his feet lay multiple skeletons of different generations. Amongst them, there were many with the Lixian faction crest on their robes. These were once disciples of the faction. They all died here. Su Yu was startled. They all died of hunger and thirst. They had been walking in the white world until they died. None of them had realized that they had not moved an inch. The truth was that they were standing in front of the Buddha statue, not moving an inch, before they died of hunger. Only Su Yu had understood the situation and managed to return to reality. After waiting for 1,000 years, there's finally one with enough intelligence and fate to pass the last level. A stern voice suddenly entered his ears. Su Yu's pupils dilated. The one that was speaking was the Buddha statue before him. The clay Buddha opened its eyes, its lips quivering as it opened its mouth to speak. Fated one, as the reward for reaching the end of the ancient Xuanhuan temple, you can choose a technique to cultivate and pass on. Whoosh. 2 techniques fell in front of Su Yu. Techniques? Su Yu was curious. But when he looked at them, he gasped. These 2 techniques were complete immortal level techniques. The one on the left was called Devil's Benevolence, an immortal level technique cultivated by Buddhists. It had 3 stages. The first stage was Demon Heart, where you cultivate a demon heart. As long as the body remains intact, any injuries can be restored by the demon heart. It is the legendary immortal heart. The second stage was demon body, where you cultivate a demon body. The flesh is trained to the extreme and is impenetrable. Any lost limbs would be regenerated. It is the legendary immortal body. The third stage was demon mind, where you cultivate a demon mind. Using your demon instincts will allow you to temporarily boost your cultivation level by 3 levels, killing higher-level enemies. After Su Yu finished reading, he was in disbelief. Even if he did not consider the immortal heart and body, this was a legend amongst old books. The ungodly power of the third stage demon mind made Su Yu deeply startled, temporarily boosting the cultivation level by 3 levels. That was ungodly. Keeping the surprised expression, Su Yu looked to the second immortal level technique. The first book was already so shocking, just how scary would the second book be? End of the chapter. The Divine Nine Dragon will be read in 5 chapters for every Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday and Sunday. Please leave this sound novel and press subscribe, follow, and the bell so you don't miss any new clips as well. See you.